Hi, welcome back. This is going to be Path by Still Water. This is Let's Hang Out. Do you mind if I paint? I'm Dan Willcox, your host. I've already got the canvas slick and wet and ready to go. Did the liquid white application in the previous video, so I hope that helped you out. I've got counting white 8 colors here on the palette. We'll have those listed in the comments for you, and they'll be in the same order that I've got them here on the palette, starting right here with the titanium white, going all the way around to bright red on the end. So I'm just going to take the brush that I used for the liquid white. I've taken a paper towel and just dried that out really well. And I have this set up to go through the entire cleaning procedure where I could scrub the brush, scrub it in paint thinner, sling it off in a bucket, and then beat it against the wire beater rack. I've really found that just wiping out the excess paint just saves time and lets me keep right on rolling through. So there's a tiny little smidge left, I suppose, of that liquid white in this brush, but it won't bother this phthalo blue that I'm going to go straight into. Just kind of snuck up on the edge, pulled some out, and now I'm going to tap in there real good to get a good, even, smooth distribution of paint. Both sides, pat, 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 pat. Let me do it this way so you can really hopefully see what's happening there. I want it to get really smooth. I've got a nice smooth even color there on the palette, because if that's what I've got on the palette, same thing on my brush. So now I just need to pick a corner where I'm going to start, and start with these crisscross strokes. Give yourself permission to go with some speed here. Don't worry about it being uniform. You don't want this to be one flat color. How boring that would be. It is a beautiful day here in sunny Central Florida. It is going to be hot. So what better to paint than a great big mountain that has some snow up the top and have a beautiful path coming past some nice, cool, crisp reflection. Oh, it's probably going to be a lake or a river, but either way, it's going to be really still water and look like a great place to jump in to cool off. So you can see as I'm getting down here towards my horizon, wherever the horizon's going to be, my brush is kind of running out of color, and that's fine. I want it to get softer, softer, softer as we get down here towards the horizon, and I'm probably going to stop, somewhere about here for today. Now I already know I want to blend this once, kind of check out my colors. So I'm just going to take a paper towel, I hold it like this right under my thumb on my big palette, just brush out any extra. The canvas took most of that blue from me, so there's not a tremendous amount to take off. And now to blend this, do the exact same stroke, but start in the lighter area and move up. You can go fast with this, just be light with your pressure, because if you push too hard, you're just going to flatten this out and make one flat, boring color in your sky. And if you started up here where the dark was and came down, you would just move that color right on down again, flattening out the color in your sky. That's not the point. The point is just to take out the brush strokes. I want to leave these uneven areas here, these lighter areas. I'm going to take advantage of those. I'm going to put some happy clouds, some beautiful clouds in this painting. And I got to tell you, I am pretty happy with the color of my sky there. Let me step around the camera here and peek and see. Yeah, that's turning out pretty clear on the camera there. So now I'm going to wipe out any white my brush picked up. Let's get just a smidge more color, and I'm going to pull in the water. I know we're going to have water, our path, and we're going to have some big trees kind of on this side, so I'm really not too worried what happens on this side because we're going to cover most of this up. But this is a great way for me to demonstrate for you. With water, start outside the canvas, pick one of the bottom corners, left or right, doesn't matter which one, and then move up. Overlap those strokes, keep them horizontal though. Gotta keep still water horizontal to the horizon. Kind of used up all my paint there, so I'm just going to reload. Come in from the other side, and I'm going to leave a little gap in between the two, from the left and from the right. You'll start seeing that little gap in here. I'm not worried about it being super uniform, straight, or any of that, so don't worry about that. These strokes just need to be horizontal. If you run out of paint, I like to flip over the brush. Here, I'll slow it down just so you can see that a little better. I'm starting outside the canvas and pulling in. Don't worry that it gets a little dark on the sides. That'll be covered up by a frame, or we can blend that out in just a second. So now I'm going to wipe out those paint, and just like we blended from light to dark, now we're going to blend from light to dark on the water. I just want to soften some of that rough lines, soften this together. I'm hoping some of these little lines still show, because there'd still be a little ripple on some still water, at least in my head there is today. So let's just go over this. You can see I'm going over the same area a couple of times, but my pressure is so light, it's not completely destroying it. I'm starting outside the canvas, same stroke that I put this on there with. And down here at the bottom, that path and all is probably going to cover this part up down here, so I'm not too worried about that either. Brush out that extra paint, and now let's go all the way across. You see this light area I left in the middle? I don't want it to be quite so stark. And if everything works out just right here, it's going to look like a shimmer of light coming across our body of water at us. So I'm gently, gently, gently going all the way across horizontally, overlapping that a little bit. And let me step out, take a peek at the camera, and that's pretty good. Let's see. Just want it to... hope that's not blurry. All right. So we've got sky, we've got water. I'm going to set that brush to the side, wiped out the excess, and we'll use that again when we move the mountain here in a few minutes. So now I've just got the 1-inch round foliage brush. I love how big this stalk is. Now you can do clouds with really any brush that you're comfortable with. Bob often does it on the show with a fan brush. I have done many a cloud with fan brush. I just prefer using the 1-inch brush. It's more comfortable, and that's what I've found. So I'd encourage you to try it different ways, and you do the one that's good with you, that you feel most comfortable with. So now I'm just putting some white paint, titanium white. I pulled some out with the knife, pulled out a nice little flat run just so I can tap, 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 ever so. Just not a lot of paint, not a lot of paint. And now I'm just going to pick out an area and take advantage of some of this lighter area that I left, and let's just drop in a happy little free cloud. I'm just going to use that top corner where I put the paint. And where's this cloud floating off to today? Don't make your clouds all uniform in the same shape. With clouds in particular, this empty space between them becomes really important, because that's really what's going to help give it some life, some depth. My brush picked up a little bit of that blue. That's fine. I'm just going to wipe out that extra paint, reload with a little bit more white, and maybe we've got another happy little cloud floating. Oh, maybe it's just floating right in front of our other one there, and coming down like this. All right, now let's blend out those. I'm going to take a clean, dry 1-inch brush. Make sure there's no devil in that so a little beading doesn't hurt. And I'm just going to use this top corner, just this top corner. Super tight little circles, just barely stirring up the bottom of that cloud. I don't want to touch that top edge yet. Same thing over here. Same thing. I like to bounce around in different areas of the cloud, because if you just grind straight across, you're very likely to use the same pressure, and what you wind up doing is kind of sawing off the bottom of your cloud. Nobody wants to cut a cloud in half like that. No, you don't want to do that. Just beat the brush to knock out any excess paint, and then this is going to be a big lift stroke. Big circle, big circle. Barely touching, barely grabbing that upper edge now. I don't want to destroy it. I just want to give it a lift, a fluff, a pull. Oh, there you go. I hope you can see that on the camera. That worked really good there. You can do these one cloud at a time. If you kind of got them spread out like I did, you can do a couple at a time. It's good to take your time on these. And any little wispies that you pulled up, then ever so gently, 3 hairs in some air, no pressure whatsoever. Just go across. It'll settle them right down into your painting for you. Let me take a look and see if those are visible. Yeah, those you can see pretty good, I think. Let's move right on then to our big mountain. I'm going to set the 1-inch brush, or 1-inch round brush down. And I'm just going to grab my knife and decide where my mountain's going to live today. I'm going to pull out some of my mountain mix. Just give that a nice little pull. If my knife looks different than yours, that's just because Bob's absolutely right. Even with just the lights in my home studio, I put if I don't put some tape on this, the glare flashing in our on the video would really kind of become annoying. So I've just got some tape on this. The edge is still probably pretty glary, but I'm just going to pull straight in there, and you can probably see it's kind of a fat spaghetti roll worth of paint on there. I'll try to hold that still for you. And let's just decide, where does our mountain live today? How about, let's not tear up our clouds. I like those. I'm just avoiding putting it right in the middle here. So let's just kind of put in, maybe we got a kind of a sharp peak of a mountain right there. And just all I care about is that outer edge, this outer edge. I do not care what's happening down here. Not yet, not yet. Maybe we got another little peak going there. And maybe our little mountain runs right off our camera that way. Scrape, scrape, scrape. You'll notice I do have my finger on the back of the knife. That's perfectly fine for this part of the application. When we go to put some snow and highlights on here in just a minute, that will not be the case. That will be way too much pressure. Swiped off my knife, got a little bit more mountain mix. I just want to pull this edge kind of down this way. Maybe we've got one more little peak right there. There, that's going to be a beautiful mountain. Again, you don't care what's underneath here. Leave all these scratch marks. The scratch marks will just help your highlights stand out, or your snow, your brush strokes here in just a second. But that's all you need for a mountain. Just go for it. Just go for it. Decide where it's going to live, and I'm telling you, go for it. So I'm going to go back to the 1-inch brush that I just used to fluff the clouds. Picked up a little blue, and that's fine. So I'm just going to take my 1-inch brush. I'm going to decide which of my mountain peaks is in the back. To me, this one's going to be the furthest back in the distance. So I'm just going to grab it, and I'm just going to put it right down inside that line. I'm going to kind of lift up, and then I'm just going to pull with a little pressure, not a lot, and just let that pressure come off. Now, if I'm going to move down, have a little more slope go that way, don't move all the way back over here, or certainly not up here yet. Let's put a little bit more shape going that way. Oh, maybe this one comes right down in front of this one, and that's fine. So that little kind of middle peak, that's the one I'm going for. So just get your brush flat in there, pull with a little pressure. Now, I hope it shows on the video. You should be able to see a little bit of a dark line right between these two peaks, and that just pushed that one way back in the back. So maybe we've got a little bit more coming out this way. Maybe we've got a little bit of a valley right here, and now let's pull our big peak kind of. The sound effects really do help, I'm telling you, they really do. Let's do the same thing on this side over here. Just grab it, give it a pull, let that pressure come off, and just let that run out for you. Let's do it again there. Maybe there's a nice little valley thing happening between these two. Why not? Just give it a little pull this way, and let's have a little bit of slope coming down the front. Let's have a little more coming that way. Just let your mountain be all kind of different ways, because all these variations in pressure here will really help sell that illusion of distance and depth in your mountain. Let's see what we got going on there. Yeah, that looks pretty decent in the video. So we're just going to keep on keeping on. Good. That is a powerful feeling. Just wiping out the extra paint that I picked up there, because we'll use this brush again. Now let's go back to the knife, and I like to do my snow side first. And I'm not going to have snow coming way down, because we're going to do some bright green trees and some yellow kind of foliage, so maybe it's spring or fall, or it's certainly not winter time for this one. So I had a little dark left in my knife, pulled into my white there. It's okay, that's okay. I'm just going to cut across, and it's a smaller roll of paint. We've got a smaller roll of paint, and all the knife is doing this time is delivering that paint to the canvas. Now you may say, Dan, what if I get too much and I screw it up right from the beginning? Well, first off, you can't screw it up. We don't make mistakes. So what if you push way too hard, you get your finger over here, and you just ice the cake? And you're like, ooh, I hate that. I don't like that. No problem. Here's how you fix it. Take your knife, clean knife, scrape it right off of there. Scrape, scrape, scrape. I hope you can hear that scraping. I am scraping, because that dark value is in the canvas. You couldn't get that out right now. You could You could get it with some paint thinner and then leave the canvas to dry and all that. Now we're just going to reset our slopes. No harm, no foul. Go again. I told you we do not make mistakes. You will often find a happy accident and you will love it. So I've reloaded my knife with a good little roll of paint. So what is that? Maybe a cooked angel hair? Fatter than a raw one, but not quite as big as a spaghetti noodle. So let's just get our knife lined up where I want my first peak to be. I can feel the paint grab, and now just go for it. Let your hand turn at the bottom so that snow keeps breaking and it pulls out a little bit wider. I picked up a little color, so I wipe off that. Now I'm going to come up here and kind of just make a little something else. Kind of merge up with where I was. Give it a little wiggle. Give a little wiggle. If you got a little shake, you had a little too much coffee this morning. I have had, I think, 3 cups. That's plenty. That's my daily limit before 10 a.m., but that's okay. Like I said, I want most of this snow right here at the top. I don't want tons of snow on this one. So I'm going to leave a little space there so I can kind of have this one pop out on us. Get a little snow back here on that one, on that peak. Just let it dance, and it'll get its own value back there in the background. Let it do that. Let it have all that variance. Don't go over these lots of times. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make in class is they don't load the knife right, so they haven't set themselves up for success with a good little roll of paint, and then they use way too much pressure. And then I'd have to say a third is that they go over the same area too many times. Now, while the mountain is the main thing in our painting right this moment, it really won't be. It's going to get shoved way back here in the distance, and you'll see that as we keep moving forward. There. So that's it. Load the knife right. No pressure on this side of the blade. You're just using the knife to deliver the paint. The knife really never needs to touch the canvas on this part. And then don't go over the same area too much. Let's pull out a little bit of our phthalo blue, a little bit of white, so we can make a highlight color. And don't overmix this. Don't overmix this. I do like a dark highlight cover, and I hope you can see that's all streaky or marbly. Get that little roll of paint. It doesn't take nearly as much shadow side as it does the bright side. Now, anywhere you have a peak that you want to stand out, you just need to sneak a little bit of your shadow color in there. Little bit of shadow color, little bit of shadow color. Doesn't take nearly as much shadow color, and just pull the other way. So I went to the right with my snow application, and now I'm just going to dance and wiggle and jiggle, and may even be some prancing here in just a second. Letting it bounce. I don't want it to be all one flat color. I want it to have all this variation there. If you get too much, the shadow side, you are allowed to gently, gently, gently go over that same area again. Very gently though, gotta be gentle. See, like that's a little too strong for me. So we're just gonna pull a little bit of that off of there. There we go, that's what I was looking for, and I'll use that right there. Cool, I ran out of shadow color, so let's mix up just a skosh more. A skosh is a highly technical art term, so be careful how you use that. So I just mixed up a little more pile of my shadow color there. And this is just anywhere the sun isn't hitting. So this will be different on your mountain from mine. Certainly don't try to copy. That's no good. And we'll have some of that covered up with some big old trees here momentarily. Give it some variation if you want to. One fun thing to do is maybe grab a little tiny bit of that mountain mix all by itself. Maybe you got a few little deep crevices and erosion spots that have been uncovered from this last thaw or the ice age. Sneak some in on your dark side of your knife if you want to. Oh, maybe that's where the abominable snowman goes. Super light, no pressure. Let that knife play and bounce and just pull in any kind of variation. A little dark there, so let's kind of just have that sit down with that blue Practice, practice, practice. You could do mountains all day. Awesome. Well, that should give you a good idea of what mountains got going on. You can give your 1-inch brush that we used for fluffing the clouds, lifting, setting those in there and pulling out our mountain. You can either wipe or beat the excess paint out of it. And now I'm going to use it to put mist at the bottom of my mountain. So I'm just going just into where some of my highlights are, and I am just going with the lay of the land. Go with the slope of the mountain that you've created here. Pick up extra paint, take a second, either wipe it in a paper towel. If you've got an easel like that, just beat a little on the leg. Just make sure you're not throwing it on the carpet. You'll get in trouble for that probably. And don't go super even. This is just light taps, and ever so gently, ever so gently. 3 hairs and some air. Don't hit your snow. Try not to hit your highlights with your brush while you're giving this a lift up the mountain, because this is really what finishes that illusion of the mist. Now, if you didn't get enough mist, you need to add a little more. You can take the brush you use for clouds, is what I like to do. Maybe I want a little more mist look right over here over these dark places, just ever so gently, not a lot. Doesn't take much. We'll just set an extra little cloud in there. Got to mist it out again though. So super gentle on these taps. Super gentle. I know I'm going fast, but can't say that enough. Be gentle, gentle, gentle. And just look how cool that looks. Give it ever so slight a lift. Now it may look like on the camera that I'm coming all the way up my slope. I can promise you my brush is not hitting the canvas there. It's just a gentle lift. And then if you need to, ever so gently. Don't do this straight across with any pressure, because all you'll do is saw a straight line. Let's see how we're doing on our video. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Cool. So now, let's kind of quantum leap jump forward on where we're going here. So we're going to have some nice looking evergreen trees on this side of the water, the river, whatever's coming this way at us. So I'm going to take my big fan brush. I've got the number 6. I do have another fan brush over there that is number 3, so it's a little one. And I'm just going to go into my sap green. All I want is green. I'm not going to make this super dark. When we move closer to us, I'm going to make this green even darker by adding some of that mountain mix. I'm just giving this brush a little wiggle. And look at the angle I'm at. I've seen a lot of people jab their fan brush straight down in the paint. Don't do that. And don't push with your fan brush. You need to load it properly. So pull with, look how long those bristles are on that. Pull with, thinking about getting a smooth load of paint. And you want it all the way out to the corners. All the way out to the corners. There's a good amount of paint in that brush. And look, it's pulled right down to almost like a knife edge. And by a knife edge, all I mean by that is it's squeezed the end of the bristles together. So let me see if I can hold that straight and still for you. Hope you can see that. So our trees, I think, for me, are going to be further away over here and getting closer this way. So I'm going to start about right here, and I'm just going to tap and crash in there. Tap and crash. There's no sliding here. And I'm going to be careful not to cover up this misty area that we made. And this is going to look like a mess for just a minute. And if it does, that means we're right on track. So no sliding, tap and crash. I'm going to use the other side of the paint now. So I just flipped over, so I've got the other corner up. Leave some variations in the height of your forest. Leave some variations in the height. Don't just make it all flat in one height like that. So now I'm just going to start again, letting that color nice and varied. And as I get what's closer to us, coming down that bank of the river over there, I'm going to let these get bigger and bigger and go right off the page. Okay, so let's reload. Nice fresh load of paint. I'm going to go back the other way because I want to be running out of paint and making them smaller as they're going away from me. So let's just dance in. Well, we got fresh paint. We'll get a little bit more detail. We get some nice variation in color there too. I just love that. Now I'm starting to run out of paint, and that's cool because these are just going to wander off, somewhere over here. And we're going to have some big trees on this side anyways. I don't really care what happens back there too much, I do want to be able to pull down some reflection. So I'm just going to come by and goose the bottom of these all the way so I can really pull these down nicely in just a minute. And you don't have to do this. There may be enough paint up there to do it, but I just want to be able to show you how I like to do that, and it gives us a nice variation there. So that's really all we got. I'm going to put this dirty fan brush right down because we are certainly going to use that again. So let's go back to our 1-inch brush that we've used for moving the mountain, fluffing the clouds, and now we want to make this mirror-like reflection on the other side of the lake. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold it horizontal this way, and I'm going to pull straight down. Now, even if you pull at an angle, that's totally fine. You still must pull straight down to get these mirror-like reflections. I'm going to start way over here because I know it's going to be covered with a big tree. So if I screw it up, it's already covered, and I just want to show you straight down. This is going to turn into that reflection. It's also helping me set the shoreline. So I'm going to vary this, different lengths. And now as I'm coming this way, I want my reflections to get a little bit longer because this is getting closer to us. If you didn't pull quite as much down as you want to, that's all right. Gentle, gentle. Go back and pull a little bit more. Maybe our shoreline wanders back in there. That's what we'll have it do. That's totally fine. Now the next step, I wiped out any extra that I picked up on my brush, and ever so gently, just go across. If you'll do this gentle enough, you can go over it with overlapping strokes, and look at that. Look at that, look at that, look at that. I love that every time it works. Every time it works. Isn't that fantastic? Fantastic. Let me see how that's looking for you on the video. Yeah, you can tell that's reflection. Awesome. So now let's go back to our fan brush, and we need something dark, some grassy areas to put in to give us some highlight at the foots of these trees here. So, let's do one thing before we do that. I'm going to switch to my number 3 fan brush, my little one, and I am just going to get a whisper tiny amount of titanium white on there, and I mean tiny, tiny amount. I'm going to sneak in here and just put a few upstrokes. We do this in wintertime scenes that can really make it look like snow, but this I just want to pull up a couple of times very carefully, picking up some green, so I'll wipe that off, go back for a little bit more white. I just am sneaking in a few more looks of tree trunks in here, and that'll really pay off once we put this other things in here. So let's just pull in a little bit more because I kind of went over that too hard. And if you need to soften any of them, you can just barely touch them. You don't want them to go away, but that's really all you need there. Sneaky little trick there. So let's take our green brush that we did those trees with, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit of mountain mix. I just want this to be darker, a little bit darker, because it would be in the shadow of these trees down here. Now I'm going to use just the shape of the fan brush. I'm going to start with just kind of leading in with a corner and just see what I get. I just want some grassy things coming down here that we can put some highlight on by the water. Cool. So now that that's working, I'm going to creep all the way over here and start with my furthest away area. Need a little more paint. Didn't have quite enough on my brush. That's okay. So you start in little inconspicuous areas if you have to on some of these things. So if you need a little more, you can grab a little more. And now I'm just going to decide what the lay of my land is. There's a little area there. I'm not worried about the edge of this yet because we're going to come back and pull some of this down for reflection of a nice little water line. And just letting the shape of the fan brush do this. I'm still not sliding at all. And I'm just giving us some dark so I can highlight this with a kiss of a cool looking yellow in just a minute. Leave a little bit of gaps in those. Those will help you with the look of distance. And now we're going to get a little bigger as we're coming this way. Maybe we kind of had a hill there that's now coming down this way. That'd be kind of fun. Not pushing hard, just bending the bristles a little bit. And now we can put a little bit back there, and that'll help us sell that vision that this is like some kind of little cove. How cool would that be? There we go. Let's grab our 1-inch brush. Just grab a little bit of that dark, just pull it down. We're going to put a little bit of reflection from this grassy stuff too. This will look great in just a minute. Straight down, not very much of this. And you don't want it to be super, super even. Go just across. You got to be super gentle. If you push too hard, this is going to run away and hide on you. You can be upset. Don't be upset with me. Be upset with you if you did that. All right. So that's cool. So now let's go back to our smaller fan brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of liquid white. I still had some titanium white on there. That's totally fine. And I'm just putting some of that down on my palette. I'm going to come over here and just get a little nub of some cad yellow. That's the CY on my palette if you're super, super observant. And I don't want this to be crazy, crazy bright. It's far away. I don't know if these are little flowers or little bushes or what. Now you can do this. You can push in and let the bristles bend up a little bit for you if you want. You can come in and push down. Just don't push too hard and do not cover up all your dark. I kind of like the up push on this for these today. And vary the amount of brush that you have hitting the canvas. You need these to vary in height and intensity, just like it would in nature. You'll pick up some of that dark color underneath. Stop, wipe that out. Pick up a little more color. And then keep going. Same way that we put it in. We started furthest away. And we're coming forward. We're going to let them get bigger and bigger as they're getting closer to us. Hope that's coming through on the video and you can see that okay. I love that when that works and that happens just like we hope. Now this is a little further away, so this is not going to be as intense. We're just going to put a few of these in there. Now if you put some right down by the edge, you can certainly pull some of that into the reflection if you want to. This will be your gentleness part of the test. Can you do that gentle enough so you don't just totally whack your darker color under there? Then if you want to sneak just a fraction back there, go for it. Cool. Let's put in some waterline. We just need a little liquid white to do that. So I'm going to grab that on my little palette knife. I think I forgot to mention, this is a 12 by 16 canvas. So 16, 12. Got a tiny little roll of liquid white. Don't try to do this with titanium white. You will really put too much paint on there. Keep these strokes horizontal to the horizon and don't do the whole shoreline. You would not be able to see the whole shoreline. So don't flatten out the bank you've worked so hard over here on. And watch this. You can flip over and get that tiny little roll on the short edge of the knife and sneak back in here and really make that cove look amazing. Just rubbing it back and forth. See how it's turning a lighter shade of green as I keep rubbing? Isn't that neat? Let's see how that's doing on the video for you. Yeah, I think you can see that. Let's put a little ripple in this water, and we're going to call that side of our river done. We're going to let that kind of creep out there on the point, and we'll just put in a couple of ripples of water line on top of these reflections. Not a lot. This is very still water. So these are just a few fish moving. Maybe somebody went by in a canoe, or some kids are skipping rocks. Ooh, this would be a good place to skip some rocks, it looks like to me. Awesome sauce. I'm digging that. Cool, so let's jump forward. Jumping forward, I mean, I'm ready to put some big trees in here and kind of have our whole up front part of this painting happening. And for that, I'm going right back to my big fan brush. I want these trees to be good and dark, so I'm actually going to grab some of that mountain mix. I got plenty of phthalo blue here, so I'm going to wiggle, 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 get some blue, use some of that mountain mix. Let's get into some of our sap green. Oh yeah, that's a good dark color. Woo, these are going to be nice. All right, let's do a great big old tree. And as I come down, I'm going to go charging right through that. I'm going to just do the tree rather than stand here talking about it. I'm talking about doing a big tree. Let's do a big tree. Give myself kind of a center line to follow a little bit there. And I'm just going to lead with the corner of my brush. Touch, see what you get, and let it bend. Move to the left, move to the right. Let these do all these little wispy shapes for you. Don't try and make your tree all perfect and uniform. They're not that way. Walk outside and talk to a tree real quick. And while it may be perfect in its imperfection, it is not all balanced and even. The branches aren't all the same. Some of them are broken. Excuse me. Little water. And let's just keep going. So I've reloaded the brush. I'm going to start just a little bit above the bottom of where I was, just to tie the colors together. And I'm just going to keep going. Let's get our tree down to, oh, I don't know, how about right about there? That's cool. Let's give this tree a friend or two. Everybody needs a friend. Trees are no exception. How about another little tree right here that goes off our canvas a little bit? Why not? Just because I ran out of canvas over there does not mean nature ran out, does it? Just let it go. Leave some gaps in there so you can see through your trees. That helps us with that distance feeling. There we go. Maybe we'll have a third one over here. Maybe that's baby tree and we need mommy or daddy tree. I don't know which one we did first. I don't know which one's that tall one. But you know, either way, there's two trees out there. If you like this, they're going to have more friends. Friends and family. Touch, 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 touch. Just let that bend. Let the fan brush do it. Don't chase the shape of these. That's probably what I see people struggle with in class. They're pushing way too hard. They're trying to flick details. And I know it's tough to trust the brush at first. That's all right. And we'll come this way. We're going to come down that way a bit, but we'll take care of that in a few minutes. Let's sneak in and get some tree trunk in there. So I'm just going to grab some Van Dyke Brown. I'm going to put a little bit of white in my Van Dyke Brown so it gets a little bit lighter than just the starkness of that. And I've done it marbly again, so I just took some white, smushed it into my brown, and left it all stripy or marbly like that. Got a good little roll of paint, and I'm just going to touch in a few places. Touch, see what the canvas wants. Move up, touch again. Don't do this whole thing. Don't do the whole middle of your tree. You just flatten it out. I'm just putting in some tree trunk. So think about it this way. The dark part we did first is the back of the tree. This is the middle. And now we're going to put on the front. And by the front, all we need there is some highlights. So I've got some good liquid thinned out mix we used for our grass over there. I kind of want this to be a little greener though. These make me think of kind of evergreen trees in spring, or certainly not fall. So let's just make this kind of a brighter green. And I kept all that polluted yellow and white on my brush. And which one of our trees is in the front? How about this one be in the front? We'll put this one in the back. So let's do the back one first. That's in the back. This one is not going to have a ton of highlight kissing through. Same way we put the tree in there, but not nearly as much of it. Don't cover up all your dark. A few places go back and forth over the, and by back and forth I mean just to the left and to the right, not back and forth. Still no sliding with this fan brush, just a little bit of a bend. Leave that dark, go across that tree trunk here and there. Oh, that's a good place for Peapod and his buddies to sneak in and have a little snack, little sandwich. If you get kind of a cruddy color going on your fan brush, take the time to stop, wipe it out, grab a little bit of liquid white. It's going to give you some variation in color. That's cool. That's how nature is. Don't mix it all flat one color. See, that's even stripy and streaky. That's what I want on my brush. I want all those variations. Make it look like we painted over colors for hours and hours and hours. Our mountain's telling us my light is coming from the right today. So we'll put more highlight out there on the right side than the left. And maybe we'll stop right there above the ground. Excellent. That's looking pretty good. Good time to sneak in with the point of the knife and just any dark areas we got. We want a few sticks and twigs back here before we get to the total front of our canvas here. You know what I can go ahead and do? I'm going to go ahead and put our path in, and then we're going to just put some stuff on both sides of it. So I'm going to wipe off my knife, clean, dry knife. I'm going to start with my little edge of my knife with just some brown, and this looks to me like a good place to just start sneaking in our path. So very lightly, you may not be able to see that yet, just pull in a little bit. Now it's very, very narrow back there. And as I'm bringing our path forward to us, it's going to get wider and wider and wider. No pressure here, just letting it pull off what it wants. We'll come back from the other side and put some more in, so don't you worry about that. I'm actually going to switch over and use the big edge of my knife now, so I can get a little faster coverage here. And let's just pull our path. How about we pull our path all the way across the front there? Why not? Maybe our path today goes right off towards us that way. So let's get a little more paint. Pull in our path this way. Don't forget, you got to get narrower, 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 narrower as you're going back that way. And we're going to break up that side of the path. This is super light. You may hear the knife blade scraping. I am not scraping like the mountain, not at all. I'm just going faster, and the knife blade is touching a little bit. And I just want to get a little more. My hand keeps hitting this bottom part of my easel as well. So there we go. Let's put a little highlight on that path. Some dirty white on there just to make it look like some lights hitting it and kissing it here and there. If you get too much on there, just gently pull it off. Oh, there we go. That's a nice sandy looking path. That's what we're looking for. Oh, see how we just needed the dark? So we have a little something to highlight. Wider, 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 wider as it gets down here towards you. Wider, 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 wider. Cool. Now let's get some dark put in there. Let's give ourselves some cool stuff to highlight. This will also help us set the path down in there because it probably looks really strange right now. It just sort of looks like coming out of nowhere. So I'm going to load the 1-inch brush that I use to do the sky and the water, and I'm going to pull it through all my darks. I just need something to highlight. So in one direction and one direction only, pulling it through dark paint. A lot of paint in this. A lot of paint, a lot of paint, a lot of paint. That gave me a good curved edge, and now I'm just going to push in. And again, this is just so I've got some stuff to highlight. I could have done this with the fan brush. That's totally fine. I'm going to let a few of these little dark fingers pop over the edge of my path, but I'm really going to set that down in there with coloring it, with the highlights we do in just a minute. But even so, look how just setting that side of that path, no sliding here, push and bend. This is great practice. All those little bushy things Bob would create with that massive brush was just practice, 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 and getting a comfort level with getting these bristles to bend. And all I'm doing is giving myself something to highlight here. Something to highlight. Covering up the blue of that water, and we'll get it more with highlights in just a minute. So now let's do the same thing on the other side. So more dark. I'm going to steal some of that dark we've got over there in the green. And just, again, giving us something to highlight. Coming down this side of the path, got to figure out what we're doing. Oh, there's a good example for you. You can really see the shapes I'm getting. And let these get a little taller, a little bolder, and let them wander right off the page if that's where they go in your world. Just bending. Just bending. Just bending. Just bend them in there. And as we start highlighting these, we'll be able to change them if we need to, add some new, just working from furthest away to closest to us. So you know what it feels like to me would be back there first. Maybe there's some little grassy things way back in there. So let's switch back to our little fan brush to do some highlights first. I'll tell you when I change brushes. I wiped out most of that green color because I want this to be a little bit more yellow, kind of like the grassies we made on the other side. So I'm going to make this a brighter yellow, just by doing more yellow. And now let's just put some in back here. So just grab the corner of your brush and decide on the lay of this hill back here and come down towards your path. Start over on the other side. Kind of do the same thing. Just bring it down. Don't cover up all your dark. It'll run away on you. There you go. So our path just kind of disappears into those trees somewhere. I don't even know that we care where it goes after that. So I'm going to switch brushes again. I am now switching over to the 1-inch brush that we did the lighty, the wispy on the clouds, moving the mountain, did the reflection, and now we're going to highlight with this. So I'm going to start with some big bushy things back there. So I'm going to go straight into some liquid white because I need this paint to be thinner. If you know Bob's style, you know a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. How about kind of a yellowish green? A yellowish green kind of highlight. I like a color like that on these bushes. Same way, I'm pulling the 1-inch brush in one direction and one direction only. I don't know if you can see that. I'm getting these little points getting pulled up, and now I've got a good curved end of my brush. I'm going to use that as the top of my bush and highlight. So gentle touch, gentle push, turn a little bit, turn a little bit, turn a little bit. You just want to create all these thousands and thousands of little leafy things. And look how it just sets everything behind it way back. Can you see that pretty good? Oh yeah, I think so. I think that's coming through on there. I'm going to reload because I picked up some of that underneath color. It's varying my color a little bit, totally fine. I went through a little bit of my liquid white. Now I want to do one on the other side. So let's kind of just pick which one we're going to do and push it in there. Don't cover up all that I did behind it. Well, it turned out being good practice, but if we can't see it, then we haven't done anything. So I don't want you to do that. Leave yourself that dark space between it. I'm going to wipe that out, pick up some fresh. Let's adjust that color a little bit. How about we add some alizarin crimson? I got this beautiful crimson out here on the palette. Oh, when you mix that with liquid white and a little green on there, what a muted little pink, maybe hibiscus. I don't know what color that is. But let's just make a beautiful bright firecracker one right here. Let's see. Ooh, I like that. I like that color. What do you think of that color? Boy, I like that. That is bright and pretty. I don't know if that means Jack Frost kissed this one or springtime, but either way, that's a sweet color. I am digging that. I'm going to keep going on these bushes, and we will just about have ourselves a finished painting. I hope you're finding these videos helpful. I am certainly enjoying the classes that we're holding. We're at Master the Possibilities out on top of the world. So check out the catalog and website. Tons of cool classes. Not just mine, by the way. There are such amazing things. You can take all kinds of culinary classes. Oh, there's origami. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. There's so many classes I want to be a student of out there. So go to masterthepossibilities.org. Also teaching down in the villages at the Enrichment Academy. So check out the Enrichment Academy, their website. That's really spectacular also. We're having so much fun doing that. And also, now that the Chelsea Art Center is open here in Ocala, check out the Chelsea Art Center. Chelsea, just like the young lady's name, Chelsea. And just vary your pressure here. See, I wanted to get a little bit different color out there. We're going to mix these up. We'll kind of make, maybe we just got some baby flowers growing down here on this side of our path. See, that little dark area between them is key. Now, in those little dark areas, let's scratch in some twigs and sticks and all kinds of cool little things. Oh, looks like we need a couple of them back there too, doesn't it? Let's just sneak in a few there. This is just a clean, dry knife, just using the point of it, and I'm scratching all the way down to the paint. I mean, all the way down to the canvas, so you can see that. As this dries, it may not look like much now, but oh my goodness, will it sell this illusion of depth and really, really have our path down in there. So let's sign this one, call this one finished. We are going to take a script liner brush, go straight into our barrel of paint thinner, picking up a little bit of bright red, and really turn this brush through there. Whatever color you want to sign in. When I started painting almost 3 years ago, I've seen enough Bob shows in my life. I didn't think you could sign in another color. Quite frankly, it never occurred to me. Now, over the last 3 years, I have signed in a few different colors. Sometimes I didn't have red on my palette, so I couldn't sign, but in red. But however you want to sign it, there's no right or wrong. That's a big question in class also, how to sign it. Well, just kind of develop something. If you get snake bit by this awesome way of painting like I did and just fall madly in love with it, this will kind of become your brand, your logo, part of your whatever. People will know it's yours. Give these paintings away to your friends and family. First off, they'll be amazed that you did it, amazed that you gifted it to them. And then when they see their friends having a painting that's signed by you too, they'll talk about you behind your back, but it'll be good. So I hope you found this how-to useful. I know it's pretty long. We're just over 51 minutes on the raw here, but rewind it. Shoot us an email. Great email to use is strike that. I will double check which is the best email. Just went blank on the @ part, so leave that. But leave us a comment, questions, concerns. You can text us. I'll see you in class, or contact info will be in the comment section as well. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.